As far as things that we want for NSF, okay? So a lot of nitty-gritty coming up now about how to make your program officer happy. You're going to have to give us some reports now and then. You will have to give us an annual report every year to NSF. And the annual report is due 90 days before the anniversary of your award. So if your award letter says, your project starts August 1st, that means your annual report is due, May 1st, right? Yeah, May 1st, okay? So, and you'll get an email notice, right, May 1st or 30 days before the anniversary date, and you'll go into a panic, it's, oh my God, I got to get this annual report done. And the first year, it always causes a lot of angst because you're doing an annual report on 9 months worth of work. Right? And so we understand that, we're very forgiving, just tell us the activities, what you've done over those 9 months, and submit your annual report, okay? If you're a couple of days late, the world is not going to come to an end, all right? You're not going to take your money away or anything like that, all right? So try to get it in a timely manner. If you know you're going to be late, send an email to your program officer and say, I'll send it in a couple of weeks or something like that, okay? Now, some of you have what's called a standard award, and some of you will have had a continuing award, and here's the difference. If you have a standard award, that means your award letter had an amount equal to the total amount you requested over the entire duration of your award, okay? So if you were, asking for $2 million over 3 years, and your award letter says you've got $2 million, you got a standard award, okay? If your award letter only gives you the amount that you asked for during your first year, you have a continuing award, okay? So a standard award means you have access to the total amount starting from day one. A continuing award means you only have access for each budget year, 1 year at a time, okay? Now, your continuing grant increment, that's what CGI stands for, is going to depend on the approval of your annual report. So if you have a continuing award, you won't have access to your year 2 budget money until you submit the annual report, the program officer reads the annual report, and approves the annual report, okay? So this is why you want to get it in a timely manner, like 90 days before or so that the program officer has time to read your annual report, make sure everything looks good. He can click the approve button, and that will automatically trigger your next year's funding, okay? Now, that thing about 6 degrees of separation from Kevin Bacon, et cetera? Okay, so this is something like this, all right? Delinquent annual reports in any other part of NSF that lists you or one of your co-PIs as a co-PI or a PI will affect the timely funding of your ATE award, okay? So you get your annual report in on time, but it turns out your co-PI is also a co-PI on some award in the biology division directorate, and that PI is late with their award, with their annual report. That means you won't get your money, okay? Because that other annual report is holding up your annual report, okay? So you can feel free and call up the other PI and yell at them, right? But also, other PIs might call you up if you're late because you could be holding up somebody else's award as well, okay? So please be careful. Make sure you get your awards in on time. And if you get an email notice saying, where's my money, saying, well, it's because this other award is holding your award up, and we'll try to work that out. Is that clear? It is a little confusing, but okay. Yes? Continuing grant increment. In other words, your next year's award funds, okay? Final reports, we give you a little extra time, okay? They're due no later than 90 days after the end date of your award, okay? And so you'll get an email notice on the anniversary of your award saying your final report is due, but it's not overdue until 90 days later. So we do give you some extra time to get your final report in, okay? And again, just like annual reports, overdue final reports are going to affect the timely funding of awards elsewhere in the National Science Foundation. Okay. And keep in mind that your final report should be more than just a last annual report. The final report really should be a summation of the entire impact of your award, major activities, et cetera. Questions about reports yet? Okay. Now, when you go into FastLane, okay, to fill out your annual report, you'll see that report template comes up, okay? So you have a template and you fill in the different areas. And being from education, you're going to be looking at things like, this is kind of a weird template, you know? Why do I have to do this? This doesn't really pertain to my proposal, et cetera. And that's because the National Science Foundation has one template for everybody, all right? So if you're, developing an associate's degree program in manufacturing, or you're studying the sex life of South African ground squirrels, you will fill in the same template, okay? So some things make perfect sense, other things you might want to ignore a little bit. So you complete your annual report the first time, everything goes great. In year 2, you go to submit your next year's annual report, and you call it up, and what you see is everything from the first year, okay? So don't be tempted like a few PIs have in the past and just say, well, I'll just send that back in. He doesn't read it, okay, because we do read them, all right? And so you've got a choice here. You've got all the stuff from last year, all right? Should I just delete everything and start over again? Should I edit what's in there, change a few things around, or should I just put in a different new section for this year, okay? And it's up to you, right? You can do any one of those. What I recommend is call your program officer and ask the program officer how you would like me to handle the subsequent reports. In my own case, what I prefer to see is a new annual section, like new for 2012, new for 2014, with a list of those things. That seems to be the easiest thing, but that's just my personal preference. If you feel want to add more than what the template allows, you can attach PDF files to your annual report, okay? And add other stuff there too. So you can put in charts, news articles, photographs. A lot of people will append their external evaluation report. I mean, that's fine. So you can append other stuff, but don't go crazy, all right? Please. Sometimes I get annual reports that are about 400 pages or so, and I tend to put those off for a while, because it takes me a day or so. So if you're going to be attaching a whole lot of pages extra, send me an email telling me what are the most important 20 or so pages for me to read, so I can, make a good decision about this annual report. Some people like to put down the entire survey, that the evaluator uses, et cetera. And it's good, might be okay to have for the records, but, it takes a long time to get through that stuff. So be judicious in the number of attachments and the type of attachments that you put for your annual report, okay? We will send you an email called Effective Annual Progress Reports to give you a little bit of tips about what's going on here. But try not to leave important sections blank and just say CPDF file, because the template report itself really is the official record of your annual report. So put in, the most important, most salient points in the template at least, so that there is something that's there in each of the sections of the annual report. Okay, now something that's relatively new, this came out in 2009, in addition to your final report, when everything's said and done, you also have to fill out a section called Project Outcomes Report. And this is for the general public. It's not really for NSF. And actually, it goes on a separate website. It goes on the research.gov website. And this just accountability. You are being funded by the American taxpayer. The American taxpayer should be able to read something about what happened with that money, okay? So within 90 days following the expiration of the grant, the project outcomes report for the general public should be submitted in research.gov. A brief summary is going to be prepared specifically for the public, so not for an NSF program officer, okay? Write this, like at the level to explain your Aunt Betty what you did for your living over Thanksgiving dinner or something like that. Of the nature of the outcomes of the project. Report will be posted on the NSF website exactly as it is submitted, and it's going to be accompanied by a disclaimer that will say this is displayed verbatim as submitted by the PI, Any opinions, findings, conclusions, or recommendations are those of the PI, don't reflect the views of the National Science Foundation. So we're not allowed to edit your project outcomes report. It goes in exactly as you send it in. Okay? Okay. If you have a center, you're required to have a national visiting committee. If you have a project, you can have an advisory board if you would like, okay? But they are required for centers. National visiting committees should meet annually and should consist of a group of experts that provide advice, assess the plans and progress of the project, and can enhance the dissemination. Typically, the National Visiting Committee has about 8 to 10 members. Okay? In this day and age, you know, travel's getting expensive. Sometimes you can do virtual meetings, but it's good to, you can do that once in a while. There'd be no problem with that, but you know, you should meet face-to-face on certain occasions, especially the first year probably. Advisory boards are often a good idea as well. I mean, you all have your evaluator working with you, but sometimes it's good to have an advisory board of your peers. If you do use an advisory board, make sure you use it. You don't want an advisory board that'll just be a rubber stamp. You want to put these people to work. You want to value their opinions, get their advice, etc. Okay, site visits. A program officer will try to visit your project at least once. Okay? And I say try because I've tried lots of times and I can't do it. In my own case, I've got about 85 active awards, and my travel budget for next year will be $3,000. Okay? So I'm not going to be able to see all of my projects. All right? And at NSF, we have permanent program officers, and then we have what's called rotators, or IPAs. IPA doesn't stand for India Pale Ale. It stands for Intergovernmental Personnel Act. And the way this works is the program officer is on loan from their home institution to NSF for 2 years. That's why I call them rotators. They come in for 2 years and they go back out again. They get paid from their home institution the whole time they're at NSF. They can still pay into their TIA, CREF benefits, et cetera, and then NSF reimburses the home institution that way. So the home institution doesn't lose any money, and they can hire an adjunct cheaper than they can pay for you. But IPAs are allowed to travel on program funds, so they can travel a lot, okay? The permanent government employees, the program staff, have very limited travel budgets, and people are cracking down on government travel these days a lot. So the permanent program staff can't travel as much as the others. But it's always a possibility to do a reverse site visit. So if you happen to be coming to DC, you can bring in a presentation, meet with your program officer, and get that program officer up to date on your progress. So reverse site visits are fine. Nowadays, we've got Skype, et cetera, so if you wanted to Skype us into one of your advisory board meetings or an annual meeting that you're having, a lot of times we can do that now, okay? So if you do have a site visit, though, try to make it more than a dog and pony show. We don't want to see only the stuff that works, okay? We want to know what isn't working, where you could use help, and where you might be able to help others. Okay? So like Dennis was saying, we do want you to succeed. When you guys were negotiating your award with your program officer, you know, you got good reviews, you got that call from the program officer saying, hey, it looks pretty good, you know, but there's a few things we need to talk about here. And they probably threw a bunch of hoops in front of you. You had to get an IRB done, you had to do this, you had to submit a revised budget, you know. But now that you have the award, okay, there's nothing more than we want for that award to succeed, okay? So we really want to help you from this point on. So our relationship changes once you have the award, okay? We really want to help you. We really want you to succeed. We'll do everything we can to help you succeed, okay? So don't be afraid to tell us if something isn't working. We've seen it all before. We can give you advice. We can help things out, okay? There's lots of things we can do to help things along. I've had cases where a project wasn't doing very well at all, but I didn't want to shut them down, right? So what I did was I made them take a no-cost extension right in the middle of their award for a year to get their act together, and they did, you know, and so things picked up again. So there's things we can do to work with you to help you keep your project on track. Okay. After we do a site visit, we'll make a site visit report, and that becomes part of the award's official record. So accountability is big these days, all right? So you need to report and document the impact and effectiveness of your project to NSF, okay? That's why we need these annual reports, okay? We can take this information, then document the impact and effectiveness of the ATE program to Congress. Lots of times Congress will call up NSF and say, what's going on with biotechnology in Oregon? I want to know what's going on there. What happened to this award? How come this person in my state didn't get good reviews, et cetera? Congress is always calling us for different things. And so it's good for us to have a lot of information on hand so that we can respond quickly, because Congress usually wants an answer by the end of the day of what's happening. So we really do use this information that you provide in your annual reports and in other aspects as well.